Okay, guys, yesterday, let's check out the DraftKings market movers for the day. Expect a lot of changes due to the free agency tampering period opening up. Here are the risers for DraftKings. Now, some of these risers are just continuing to rise based on prior news, while some are rising based on news from yesterday. Let's take a look and see what we think. So, up at the top here, we have DJ Moore and David Montgomery still rising, probably well past what makes the most sense for them. I think it's hard to draft either of these players at this point in time unless you have a very specific build on DraftKings. We have Kenneth Walker, who is now at 24, rising because he's going to sign with the Kansas City Chiefs, so that's going to get updated here soon. I listen to other people. Some people think it's the second half of the second round. Other people think he should be closer to the first half of the second round. So I would be targeting him right now with your second round pick, especially if you have a later second round pick. And if he falls to you, just kind of take him a little ahead of ADP. Mike Evans is expected to rise as well rather significantly, maybe even a couple rounds here. You can see a big jump here. Mike Evans on DraftKings was one that you should have been attacking before. If you saw some of my other videos, when he was a value on DraftKings compared to Underdog, that passed a while ago, I don't know, a week ago, a couple days ago, and now he's rising due to signing with the 49ers. I'd expect this to continue to rise. Really, all he needed was a landing spot and know that he wasn't going to retire for him to rise. And so, a round or two, or into the third round or something like that, I think is what I've been hearing. Luther Burden is still rising a little bit due to the DJ Moore move. You think that's got to stop here at some point in time? You can see it's been 16% for the week, still almost 2% for the day. Byshell Tootin, some people think he's now going to be the standalone back over there in Jacksonville. It kind of looks like it a little bit, but there's still more to come. So he's rising. Maybe grab some if you want to just try to be an ADP winner. I don't know who out there could get signed that would make it so he wasn't considered a winner. Maybe if Brian Robinson ends up in Jacksonville, or Tony Pollard got traded there or something like that. Those would be things that would probably impact it a lot, but he might be a winner of some sorts. That being said, who knows? Even though he's a winner, maybe because he hasn't got anyone else to kind of compete with him, I don't know how much of a winner he is for you as his ADP continues to rise. But if you want to play the ADP game, probably draft him now before it continues to rise. Jordan Mason is just kind of ticking up here as Minnesota still hasn't added anyone, but they are cutting Aaron Jones. Mike Washington still rising. I'm probably not going to take him at this price. I didn't draft him at all when he was 200s, and he just kind of moved up so quick, and I wasn't really drafting a whole lot at that time. I don't think I got him at all. And at this point, unless he starts falling, I don't think I'll really have him on any of my teams. I think I'll feel okay about it. He's kind of like a Byshell Tootin from last year, and we don't know where he's going to go. And I don't even know if he's as good. Roma Dunze slowly ticking up still because, again, of the DJ Moore thing. Kyler Murray, he has not been cut yet officially, so he can't sign, but he's expected to rise once he signs. I'm surprised that we don't see Malik Willis on this chart. I thought he would have been rising a lot. He might be a player to target. Reading or listening to Hayden Winks, they were saying he should be a top 10 quarterback, which is kind of crazy. I guess Kyler Murray might fall into that same bucket of like a top 10 quarterback due to how much running they can do. Maybe slightly less for Kyler Murray, so maybe slightly less than top 10. But if he goes to the Vikings, right, that's kind of exciting with who he's got. Tyler Algier signed to the Cardinals. So he was kind of rising before that, and I thought it was smart to maybe take him a little bit. I'm not too jazzed about the Cardinals landing spot for him. So draft him a little bit maybe if it makes sense for your team. But why does Algier end up being the guy as opposed to James Conner. I know James Conner got hurt and everything like that, and he's older, but um, what's the difference between them? I don't know. Gibbs is still moving up. I don't know if he's number one yet, but he's still moving up, and he it looks like he's probably half and half between Bijan and him at number one. Godwin moving up. Some people like him well above 102, so he might be someone you want to target before he moves up too much. The Naylor just signed with the Raiders, and so I do think it makes sense to tack him on as like your last round or second to last round if you can make it happen. Here are our fallers. Stefon Diggs falling still. He doesn't have a landing spot yet, and he'll probably continue to fall until he has a landing spot. If you can catch him in one of those rooms where he falls a lot, I think it's a good pick. RJ Harvey falling. Um, kind of surprised he fell. You'd think because they signed J.K. Dobbins, people would maybe be excited about that. I did talk on another video about like a dead zone type of player, and Harvey, I think I said, was the closest to a dead zone type of player. And maybe J.K. Dobbins signing with Denver, making R.J. Harvey fall, kind of proves he was a dead zone type of player if there was one. This is a rookie tight end. I had to look him up to see what he was all about. He's rather athletic. I think someone just drafted him really high, and so he got bumped up, and now he's falling. Woody Marks is still just slowly falling since the David Montgomery thing. We also have Cam Scadaboo falling, health concerns. Breece Hall falling, which is, I think, makes him a better and better value as he continues to fall. If you get him in the fourth round, I think that's a nice spot for him. Jameson Williams falling. I don't know why, or Williamson falling, or Williams falling. Not sure exactly why. Theo Johnson now has more competition at tight end. I don't think that's great. I mean, it could be good for Isaiah Likely, but I kind of like Theo Johnson up until this trade. So I think we got to learn more for what's going on, and probably just maybe kind of go with the market a little bit. Probably let Theo Johnson fall right now, unless you have a really good reason to take him. Denzel Boston's still been falling, so let him continue to fall unless you really like him. Maybe you kind of just roll with it. Tyson's falling, another rookie. So we got a bunch of rookies here, basically players that people aren't as excited for now that they've thought about it. That being said, I think a lot of these players are also values on DK compared to underdog. So if you want rookie values, DK is the place to go. And Alvin Kamara now is a new running mate at running back in ETN. So it makes sense he's falling. Who knows what's going to happen with him? Here are our platform values. Like I was saying, a lot of the rookies: Tyson, Boston, Lemon, Coleman are rookies that are considered values on the DraftKings platform. Tyson's almost 20% value. Look at that split between where he's going underdog and DK. Boston is going, that's a huge split as well, right? 17 points, almost 18%. And then Lemon is almost a 13% value. So I do think they make sense to target on DK, especially. More wide receivers, which has kind of been the theme in DraftKings, where there's those wide receivers later on. You have Brian Thomas later on, Addison later on, Shaheed later on. These are all, most of them were wide receivers with question marks, right? Rookie, lots of competition, maybe being traded, who knows? Rookie, legal concerns, quarterback concerns, and then Shaheed, he actually just signed with Seattle. So take that for whatever you want, whether that's good or bad. But he's a value here on DK. So if you like that, then now's the time to go ahead and grab him. I do think it's probably smart overall to try to walk away with your draft with at least one of these wide receivers. Embrace the risk a little bit and hope that you get a nice return because of it, an even better return because of the value you're getting on DK compared to underdog. Last but not least, we have Jonathan Taylor, sorry. who, you're getting in the first round. I do think it's nice to grab him earlier rather than later in the first round if you can do it. Um, Ashton Genty, who is into the 2-3 turn here. Sorry, the 1-2 turn versus in the first round on underdog. And then Josh Jacobs and Trevion Henderson. Interesting to see these early running backs going later on DraftKings. Traditionally, these running backs were pulled up more on DraftKings compared to underdog. So I don't know. Is underdog smarter or is DraftKings smarter? I don't know. That's why it's a nice way to kind of get a little bit of arbitrage in it, meaning that you get the player you want, but at almost like a guaranteed less price. Not exactly what arbitrage is, but it's fun to use it in this way. Trayvon Henderson is the one that kind of stands out to me the most. And he's been on here for a while. I think higher on the list, but he's still on the list here if we're talking players with a value of over 10%. He's a pass catching back. Josh Jacobs, catches a good amount of passes as well, or he can. So it's interesting these guys are so much further down the board. There is your report on the DraftKings market. Target the mid-round wide receivers with risk. Embrace some of these falling values at running back earlier on, if possible. Avoid, be strategic while drafting some of the players with question marks right now to see where they fall. And target Mike Evans, Kenneth Walker before their ADP settle significantly higher. And if you want to throw in Byshell Tootin, he's going to skyrocket a good amount. More risk in his profile, though. And then I do think it makes sense to still look at Kyler Murray, Malik Willis, if those smarter than me are right in saying they should be closer to like a top 10 QB versus where they are going right now. And then a lot of smart people are saying Godwin and Naylor's a good pick to tack on at the end. I also like Mooney at the end also. Let me know what you think. See you on the next one. Peace.